I answered my husband's phone, and a woman whispered, "I love you," but when I recognized the voice, The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was lying in bed, staring at the clock, waiting for my husband Daniel to return from what he claimed was a late meeting. The glow of his phone on the nightstand startled me, vibrating against the wood. I glanced at the caller ID. It was a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I reached for it. My hand trembled as I pressed the green button. "Hello," I whispered. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a soft, almost fragile voice broke through the line, "I love you." My heart stopped. My breath caught in my chest. 1,000 questions exploded in my mind, but before I could even hang up or respond, the familiarity of that voice hit me like a dagger. It wasn't just any woman. It was someone I knew. Someone I trusted. It was my sister. I dropped the phone as if it had burned me. My stomach twisted, and I staggered back, clutching the bed frame for balance. The sound of her voice kept replaying in my mind like a broken record. My younger sister, Emily, the one I grew up protecting, the one who lived with us for months after her divorce, the one Daniel had comforted when she cried over her broken marriage. The pieces began to connect, and the picture they painted was unbearable. When Daniel finally walked in 20 minutes later, loosening his tie like nothing was wrong, I stared at him, my face pale and my body trembling. "Who was it?" I asked, holding up his phone. He froze mid-step, his smile faltering. "Who was what?" "The call. The one you missed." My voice cracked, but I pressed on. "Because I answered it. And do you know what she said?" Daniel's eyes darted to the phone, then to me. His lips parted, but no words came. "She said she loves you," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. And it wasn't just anyone, Daniel. It was Emily. The silence that followed was unbearable. That night unraveled my entire world. Daniel confessed. Not immediately, but after hours of denial, pacing, and half-hearted excuses. He admitted that after Emily's divorce, they had gotten too close. He insisted it wasn't love, just comfort, that it just happened. But the betrayal was so deep, so personal, that his words meant nothing. I felt torn in half. It wasn't just my husband who had betrayed me, it was my own sister. The next morning, I drove to Emily's apartment. She opened the door with swollen eyes, as if she already knew I was coming. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered before I could speak. I was broken, and he made me feel wanted again. I stood there, shaking, staring at the woman I once trusted more than anyone. "You didn't just steal my husband, Emily," I said, my voice trembling. "You stole us, our bond, our trust. You broke something that can never be fixed." Her tears didn't move me. Not then. I walked away, slamming the door behind me, knowing nothing would ever be the same. The weeks that followed were a blur of pain, arguments, and shattered dreams. Daniel begged me to forgive him, swore he would end things with Emily, pleaded that he loved me. But how do you forgive when your heart has been split open by the two people you cherished most? I moved out, taking nothing but my clothes and a few keepsakes. I needed space to breathe, to think. Nights were the hardest, lying awake in silence, wondering how many times they had whispered those words to each other, wondering how long they had lied to my face. But in the quiet of my loneliness, something unexpected happened. I found strength. I started journaling, pouring every ounce of anger, grief, and betrayal onto paper. I reached out to friends I hadn't spoken to in years, and they reminded me who I was beyond being a wife or a sister. I began therapy, and slowly, the weight on my chest grew lighter. Months passed, and one evening I ran into Emily at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, her shoulders slumped, her eyes empty. She tried to approach me, but I stepped back. "Emily," I said firmly, "I wish you healing, but you're no longer my sister. Not in the way that matters. Some betrayals cut too deep." I turned and walked away, not with anger this time, but with clarity. As for Daniel, he sent letters, texts, flowers, pleas for a second chance. But every time I looked at them, I remembered that night, that whisper, that shattering moment when my world collapsed. And I knew there was no going back. Now, a year later, I stand taller. Stronger. I bought my own home, painted the walls the colors I love, filled it with laughter from new friends and peace from within. I no longer wait by the phone, no longer cry myself to sleep. The pain didn't disappear, but it became my teacher. It showed me that betrayal does not define me, that losing people who break you is not truly a loss, it's a release. If you're listening to my story tonight, I want you to hear this. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us the most. And while that pain may feel unbearable, it can also be the beginning of your greatest strength. Because healing isn't about going back to who you were before. It's about becoming someone stronger, wiser, and braver than you ever thought you could be. And that's exactly who I am now.